Students, is my screen is visible? Sivasanam sir, screen visible arka?
Screen visible sir. You start.
Okay sir, fine. Thank you. Welcome students. Good morning. So today we are entering the module 12 class in the unit of supply chain network design, right? So in this class we can see the design options for the various distribution network, right? So what are the design options are there, right? That we can discuss, right? So before entering this class, just we brief what we discussed in earlier, that is previous classes. So the first class we discussed about the distribution, right? So what is the distribution? Then the second class we discussed the what are the factors influencing the distribution network design. Then this class we are going to see the design options for the distribution network. So the distribution is a process, right? Distribution is a process which moves or store a product from one stage to another stage. That is one stage, I mean the supply stage, right? So the distribution is a stepwise process to move and store the product from a supplier stage to a customer stage, right? So either it may between supplier to the factory, right? So the raw materials will be supplied through the supplier to the factory, and here the goods are manufactured, then the goods will be transferred to the customer, right? Then the goods will be transferred to the customers, either in a directly we have to ship directly, we have to uh, move the product from the factory to the customer, or it may via some distribution channels, right? It may via some distribution channels, right? So what are the distribution channels? Distributors are there, wholesalers and retailers, right? So they are included in the distribution channels, right? So this is called the distribution network or distribution management, right? Then what are the factors affected, right? What are the factors influencing the distribution network design, right? So by the two terms, right? So one is the value provided to the customer, right? One is the value provided to the customers, and second one is what are the cost are meeting by the customers, right? So these two, depending upon these two parameters, the distribution network performance has to be evaluated, right? So the distribution performance may be evaluated by the two terms. One is the customer service, and second one is the supply chain cost, right? So by the customer service, right, we have a 7 parameters, right? What are the parameters? Response time, product variety and product availability, customers experience, time to market, order visibility, and the returnability, right? So these 7 are the service factors. These 7 are the service factors which influence the network design. Then the supply chain cost, right? So generally we have a 6 supply chain costs are there, right? Generally we have 6 supply chain cost drivers of the supply chain cost, right? Totally 6 is there, but here we are taking only the 4, right? So inventory, the transport, facilities and handling, and the information technology, right? These 4 are mainly influenced to the distribution network, right? So other two, the sourcing and pricing, also inflated, but not comparatively not this much of level, right? So we eliminate that two, sourcing and pricing, right? So last class we discussed about the facilities, right? So if the facility will be increases, what will happen? The response time will be reduces, right? If the facilities increases, the response time will be reduces in the term of the service factor. But in the term of the supply chain cost, the overall cost will be increases, right? Slightly it will be decreases, and at particular point beyond the service level, if we increase the number of facilities, it may increase the total cost, right? So here the total cost means these 3 is incorporated, right? That is called the total cost of a supply chain, right? That is called as the total cost of the supply chain. So inventory cost, facility cost, and the transportation cost. So the overall cost, right? So the overall logistics cost, right? In the logistics cost means here, sorry, here the inventory, facility, and the transport, right? So these three incorporated, right? So at the particular number of facility is drastically reduces. After that, it may be increases, right? So the response time and the total cost, right? So these are the relationship, right? So up to this we discussed in last class, right? So now in this class we are going to see about the design options for the distribution network, right? So the managers take two decisions, right? So what are the two decisions means how the product will be reached by the customer, right? How the product will reach to the customer, right? So either it will be delivered, right? Either it will be delivered to the customer's location, or it is picked up by the customer, or it is picked up by the customer, right? So this is the first option. And the second option, whether the product is flow through some intermediary, right? Some distribution channels, right? So the product flow through intermediately, right? So depending upon these two, right? Depending upon these two, we have six design options. We have six design options for the network design. Right? So these are the six design options. So the first one is the first one is the manufacturer storage with the direct shipping, right? Manufacturer storage with direct shipping. And the second one, the manufacturer storage with direct shipping and the in-transition merge, and the distributor storage with carrier delivery, and the distributor storage with last mile delivery, and the manufacturer or a distributor storage with the customer pickup, and the retail storage with the customer pickup. So these are the six, right? These are the six options. These are the six design options for the distribution network channel, distribution network structure, right? So we can see one by one, right? So the first one is the manufacturer storage with direct shipping, right? Manufacturer storage with direct shipping. It is the first design configuration. It is the first design configuration, right? So manufacturer storage with the direct shipping, right? Okay, fine. So here, do you see these are the manufacturers? These are the manufacturer, the blue color, right? The blue color indicates the manufacturers, and the yellow color will indicate the customers, right? The yellow color indicates the customers. And so the customers, they place an order. Customers, they place an order onto the retailer, right? So it is the, this color indicates the retailer, right? So here it is manufacturer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and n number of manufacturers, and the plenty of customers, and and the customers and the manufacturers will be contacted through dealers, the retailers, right? So it is retailers, right? So here we have different arrows, right? So the dark arrow, this one, right? The dark arrow, this type of arrow will indicate the product flow, right? So this type of arrow will indicate the product flow, and this type of arrow will indicate the information flow, right? So one is the product flow, and one more is the information flow, right? So in this diagram, you see, in this chart, you can see the manufacturer, customer, and the retailer, right? So the customers, they place an order. The customers, they place an order on to the retailers, and the retailers may communicate these orders on the manufacturers. See, the is the see, so this type, it is the informations, these are the informations, right? So the customers, they place an order to the retailer, then the retailer will communicate the orders to the manufacturers, right? So is it clear in this slide? So the manufacturer, retailer, and the customer relationship, right? So once they place an order to the retailer, they communicate this order to the manufacturer. Then the manufacturer is directly ships the product to the end customers, right? The manufacturer directly ships the product to the end customers, right? So this diagram also indicate that only, right? So the manufacturer ships the product directly to the customer by bypassing the retailer, right? By bypassing the retailer, right? So here the role of the retailer is what is the role, right? So here the basically they receives the order from the customers and to communicate those orders to the manufacturer, and they have to coordinate the flow of the products. They have to coordinate the flow of the product, because the customers will ask the retailers about the status of those products, right? So they do not communicate with the direct to the manufacturers, right? So only through the retailers they are ordering the process. So they will ask, right? They will ask the status about their order in to the retailers, right? So the tracking or a status of an order also depends on the amount of investment that has taken place on the information structure design, right? That has taken place on the information system structure, right? So this kind of, right, in this kind of network, because the retailer have to coordinate with both manufacturer as well as the customers. So the cost of investment and the complexity that arises with the establishment of the good information structure is very high, right? So in this structure these conditions are there, right? So then how its performance characteristics may vary, right? How this type of design having a different type of performance characteristics by the factors, right? So what are the factors? One is the cost factor and one more is the service factor, right? So we already seen the what are the factors are influencing the distribution network design, right? So the same factors, right? So for the supply chain service factor, right? Inventory, transportation, facility and handling, and the information, right? So these are the supply chain cost drivers, right? So here it is indicated as the cost factor, and the service factors, right? So what are the customers experience, right? So the response time, product variety, and product availability, customers experience, time to market, order visibility, and the returnability, right? So these are the service factors, right? So how its performance may vary, right? How its performance may vary by these two factors, right? So one is the service factor and one is the service factor and one is the cost factor, right? So first we can see the cost factors, right? So in this cost factor, right? So in this cost factor, first we can see the inventory, right? So how the inventory performance will be there, right? So the inventory holding cost in this network is very low, right? So why? Because the product may directly ships from the customer, sorry, from the manufacturer to the customer, right? So it will be very low. The inventory holding cost is very low, right? Then see, the inventory cost is very low. Why? Because the products are directly sent from the manufacturer's end to the customer's end. So the lot of aggregation takes place, because the entire inventories are accumulated at the manufacturer end. So due to this aggregation, so there are plenty of benefits, including even the forecasting of the demands, demand, which is much accurate when we are basically trying to forecast the aggregate demand, right? So these benefits of the what do you say? This benefits of the aggregation is primarily thing, right? This is primary thing. The primary point is that we need to carry the less amount of inventory if we aggregate the products, right? If we aggregate the product, right? So this benefit of this aggregation, then the highest for the low demand, the highest for the low demand, but the high value items, and since the products are being disposed, and it being sent from the manufacturer end to the customer's end. The final assembly at times is done at the customer's end, because if an order uh, consists multiple products, right? If an order consists multiple products, then the final assembly may be done at the customer's end by the customer itself. May have done a final assemblies, right? So the benefits are very large. If the product customization can be postponed at the manufacturer end, because we know the final assembly is getting done at the customer's end, right? At the customer's end, right? So for the inventory, these points are to be noted. Then the second one is transportation. Then the second one is the transportation. So here the higher transportation cost, because the increased distance, right? So sorry. So there may be a distance between the customers and the manufacturer is too long, right? So most of cases it may be a too long distance, right? So the transportation cost is increases. So the transportation cost is increases, right? So basically all the type of items will be the home delivery one, right? All the items are will be in the home delivery one. So the material or the product is being sent to the customer's location. So the customers, right? The customers need not to bother about who is picking the product and who is delivering the product, but the material has to be safely reached to us, right? That is our ultimate aim. So the transportation is very, very important one, right? So the transportation is very, very important one. So the transportation cost will be high, right? So the transportation cost will be high, right? Then the third one is the facility and the handling. The facility and handling, right? So the lower facility cost, right here, the lower facility cost, because the aggregation, we do not have to know the storage inventory or a stock of material, in the warehouses or a intermediate nodes, that is the distribution centers, right? So the intermediate stores we do not have to create, and thereby some facility cost, and the lower the sorry and the so for the facility cost are a lower one, right? So there is something is saving on the handling cost if the manufacturer can manage the small shipments or a ship directly from the production line, right? From the production line. Then the fourth one is the information. The fourth one is the information. So the handling cost is pretty very high, right? So the handling cost is pretty very high, because one hand we are sorting it in the warehouses in the large packs, then the orders received by us or by the customers is dismantling, or it's better breaking, right? It's better breaking proof, better breaking what do you say, safe, better breaking safe, right? So that is the product will be somewhat good condition, right? If it is damaged, then the cost will be backed by the facilities or the handling terms. Then for the information, the significant, right, mentioned, the significant investment in the information infrastructure is required to integrate both manufacturer and the retailer, right? So why? Because the customer has to communicate with the retailers, and the retailer has a good communicate with the manufacturer. So the information structure is very important one, right? By direct contact, right? Why? Because the role of the distributor is he has to communicate, right? He has to communicate and coordinate with the customers and the manufacturer. So the information structure has to very good in the in this particular design, right? So in the term of the response time, there are long response time of 1 to 2 weeks, right? The long response time of 1 to 2 weeks is mainly due to increase the distance, right? To increase the distance and the two stages for the order processing, So the response time, it may vary by the product, and thus the complicating the receiving, right? So the customer is placing an order on to the retailer, then the retailer is again communicating that order to the manufacturer, then the manufacturer is sending from uh, the product to the customer. So the distance is pretty very high or a long. Due to that, the response time may be more than 1 or 2 weeks. 1 or 2 weeks. Also, the time, right? Also at the time, and its response time may be vary depending upon the product, right? So depending upon the product, surely the response time will be varying. Then the second one is the product availability, right? Second one is the product variety, right? So if we look for a particular service factor, the product variety, it is easy to provide a very high level of product. It's easy to provide a very high level of product because it's coming directly from the manufacturer's end, right? It is coming from the manufacturer's end. So the product variety, we have a plenty of variety, right? So the high level of variety will be we have to provide they have to provide the high level of variety of the products, right? Then the third one is the product availability, right? So if the product availability, it is easy to provide the high level of the product availability, right? So because the entire of these products are aggregated at the manufacturer's end, right? Aggregated at the manufacturer's end. So the product availability is very good, right? Then the customer's experience, right? So the customer experience is good in the terms of the home delivery, but we can suffer, right? We can suffer if an order from the several manufacturers is sent as a partial shipments, right? For the partial shipments, right? Next, the time to market. Next, the time to market, right? The time to market is fast, right? With the product availability as soon as the first unit is produced, right? Then the order visibility is more difficult, but also it is an important from the customer service perspective. Then the returnability is very expensive and it is difficult to implement, right? So these are the performance characteristics of the product is directly shipped from the manufacturer storage to the customers, right? So this type of network design. So we have a 6 design configurations. The first configuration will be the direct shipping, right? So due to the direct shipping, it is also referred as the drop shipping, right? So due to the direct shipping, right? Due to the direct shipping, it is also referred as a drop shipping, right? Not that one, that also, right? It is also referred as the drop shipping. And is it clear? The first one. Student, first one. Is it clear? Anyone? Is it clear or not? Sir, aggregation. Aggregation, I can't understand. Okay, right. So, the aggregation, right? So, the aggregation means the plant facility. Here, the plant facility is called as the aggregation, right? So, if for the this can, right? So, this type of delivery, right? So, whole the inventories will be stored in a manufacturer itself, right? So, the inventory holding cost will be very lower, right? So, that facility is called as the aggregation. That facility is called as the aggregation. The plant have more space, right? The plant have more space, and the inventory cost, it meets the customers is very low, right? So that term is called as the aggregation here. Any other? Okay, right, fine. Then the second one, see here the number of manufacturers, that is the factories, right? So here the number of manufacturers and the customers and the customers and the retailers, and here the one more term is there, and here the one more term. What is that means? Intransient merge. Intransient merge, right? So it's very simple, right? So you can see the different type of manufacturers here, and the different type of customers. The customers are placing their orders onto the retailers, and the retailers has to communicate these about these orders to the different manufacturers, and different manufacturers or different factories, depending upon the type of the products, depending upon the type of the products, then which is sourced from the particular factory, right? So each factory will have a different type of product, right? So all the products, right? So here, for example, if you have to make a system, right? CPU I want, right? So for the CPU, so one factory will make a RAM, one factory will make a motherboard, right? One factory will make a hard disk, one factory will make a graphics card, right? So here the different type of factories, right? Here we have a different type of factories, right? So but the customer need a system. The customer need a system, right? So for example, for only for first customer, they need only the hard disk. Then the second customer, the only need a RAM, and then the third one is the motherboard. Then the fourth customers need an entire system, right? So in this type, right? So in this type, the different factories or different manufacturers send their product in a particular warehouse, right? That warehouse called as the intransient merge. That warehouse is called as the intransient merge, right? So in the intransient merge, they assemble the product and they have to deliver the product to the customers, right? So this type of design is called as the manufacturer storage with the direct shipping and the intransient merge, right? So if you know what is the intransient merge, right? So here we have a different type of industries, different type of factories. So so each factory, so different type of factories depends on the different type of products which is sourced from the particular factory, right? So the materials are being sent to the intermediate warehouse. The intermediate warehouse distributors, that is the distribution centers, that is called the intransient merge center, right? So where, so these products are merged together and by the third party carrier, and then it is shipped to the customer. So the basically it's calling the intransient merged by the carrier, a third party carrier, right? So they are the basically receiving a different type of products from the different customers, right? So they are merging all these products and they consolidate the shipments and takes place from the end of and takes place from this end, and it may be sent to the customers, right? So it is called the intransient merge, right? It is called the intransient merge. Is it clear? Right? So the difference between this and this, right? So here, so this type of arrow will indicate the product flow, and this type of arrow will indicate the information flow, right? So the customers, they ordered through the retailers, and the retailers, they communicate their orders, the customers orders about to the factories, right? So the different type of factories and different type of product has to be sent to the one place. That place is called the intransient merge place. That is the warehouse, right? That is the warehouse or a distribution center, and there the final assembly or the customer requirement has to be fulfilled by the third party carrier. It is fulfilled by the third party carrier, right? So here the performance, right? How the performance will be vary, right? So uh, while comparing to the first design, so most of the performance are same. Most of the performance are the same in the terms of the service factor. See, in the form of the service factor, so most of the performance are the same, right? So here I mentioned the drop shipping, right? Here I mentioned the drop shipping, right? So I already told the customers, the manufacturer, right? The first option is there, no? So the manufacturer shipment with the direct to the customer, that is also referred as the drop shipping, right? So the most of the service factors are similar to the first one, right? Most of the service factors are similar to the first one, and in the term of the customer's experience, it's far better, right? It's far better than the first one. It is far better than the first one, right? Then the cost factor. In that cost factor, may have some slight variations. So these are the term, right? So in the term of inventory, the inventory performance is also similar, right? It is also similar to the drop shipment, right? The same. See, the points are same. The lower cost, right? The lower cost, and the benefits are high demand, right? The highest for the low demand and the high value. Then the customization is large. The customization is large, right? So the same, the inventory is same, and the transportation costs some have difference, right? So if the product is shipped from the manufacturer's end to the customer's end, right, it may have some higher transportation cost, but in this case, right, so the customer receives a product from the transition end, that is the in-transient merge, right? So in-transient merge means the distance will be somewhat reduces, so the transportation cost is somewhat less while comparing to the first one. So comparing to the first one, it may less, right? Then the handling cost is higher than the first one, right? So why? Because for the first case, the manufacturer has directly shipped the product from the manufacturer to the customer's end, right? So here, intermediate, they have a facility, right? So the in-transit merge is a facility, right? So there some employees are there, there's some service will be provided, right? So that cost has to be charged from the customers, right? So the handling cost, right? So here the handling cost is somewhat high, right? Here the handling cost amount is somewhat high, and the information also somewhat high. So the investment, right? So once we created the facility, and the information also developed, then infrastructure and the facility is developed, so the information cost also somewhat higher by comparing the first one, right? So in this class we see only two, right? So right, so in this class we seen the manufacturer storage, right? So manufacturer storage with the direct shipping we seen, and the transient merge we seen, right? So remaining we can see in the next class, right? So remaining we can see in the next class, right? Right. So the absentees are posted in the chat box. Let you check if any difference is there. Just post your number in chat box itself, right? So regarding this class, do you have any doubt? Do you have any doubt? So it is for 2 minutes. It's a discussion time. Do you have any doubt? So in this class we have seen two types of the two design types, right? So one is the manufacturer storage with the direct shipping, and second one is the same, but here we have added some facility. Here we have added some facility, right? The intransion merge. Have any doubt? No. Okay, right, fine. So Monday you have a quiz, right? Monday you have a supply chain quiz. Then go through your slides, right? So go through the first unit slide, which is posted in the Google Classroom. You can go through the slides, right? It is very easy, right? So if you go through the slide means it's very easy to get a good marks. Not only a pass mark, you can get a good marks. So don't expect the reminders, right? So today I have this quiz, today I have this quiz, right? So that type of habit is very, very what do you say? You are a mature students, right? You are the mature students, but you are expecting the reminders. That's very bad.